Hi, I'm Allie Hamilton, and I'm so happy to welcome you to the Come As You Are podcast. Every week, we'll be talking about some aspect of healing, usually around childhood wounds and complicated familial relationships. The topics will always coincide with my personal essay of the week, and this will be a place where we can take a deep dive together. I'm so thrilled you've joined me and delighted for you to always come as you are. Hi there. Hi there. Welcome to our talk today. The topic is just drive, and it's about all the plans that we make. We human beings, we like to make our plans and feel like we have some control over what is going to happen to us, what's going to happen in the road in front of us. And some of that, we have our schedules. And if you go to yoga, you probably have a place in the room where you like to put your mat. Maybe you go grocery shopping on the same day every week. So we enjoy that. We like to pin things down. Sometimes we like to pin people down. We like to sort of hold on to our ideas really strongly. And so the essay this week and the topic for our talk is about that tendency to make plans and then what happens when those plans get turned completely, on their heads, which can happen at any time on any day, as we all know. It's also about the time in life where I find myself, which is the middle years. I'm 53 and I have teenage kids, and I've lost both my parents in the last few years. I'm in perimenopause. So there's a lot of stuff that comes along with this moment in time where, it's kind of an awakening. I know that a lot of people have anxiety about it, or there's a lot of conversation about how difficult some of it is, and it is. There's no doubt the sandwich generation has its own set of challenges, and it's a lot of loss and a lot of opportunity to kind of open your hands and open your mind and open your heart and allow yourself to, just consider where you are in your life and if it's feeling right. And I was reading a really fascinating article yesterday about women at this stage of life and perimenopause and menopause and how that can start to play into things. And it was something about the decline in the nurturing hormone that makes you kind of step back and reassess. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. There are a whole bunch of divorce memoirs right now. That's what they're being called. That's not what I would necessarily call them, but You Could Make This Place Beautiful. Maggie Smith has just a stunning, can't recommend it enough, memoir. And Liz Lenz, This American Ex-Wife. There's a whole bunch of them, and it's women that are, reaching this point and feeling like, what is happening? I'm doing a tremendous amount of the work, and why is that? Gender roles and a lot of that stuff coming into play. So these are all the different things that have been on my mind lately as well. And I certainly have not, I don't feel in any way that I'm nurturing my children any less or my work any less. I feel really inspired with my work and with the creative energy that I'm feeling. But I do find that I'm stepping back from certain friendships, certain relationships, certain dynamics, and really reassessing. And there's a great gift in that, and a great freedom in kind of, having a little objectivity, because we can get so stuck in a dynamic with someone that we're not really seeing clearly anymore. We're in it. It's like being a little too close to a thing to be able to see it from 10,000 feet up. And there's something about this time in life where I feel like you do get that bird's eye view a little. And there are certain friendships that, I've let go because I realized they weren't balanced. They didn't actually feel good. And you might also relate if you're moving through this time in life yourself. I'm going to read the essay this week. I don't always do that. I think I've maybe only done it once before during the podcast, but I had a request for that. So I'm going to do that today, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. So that means I'm going to have to put my readers on so I can see, because that's another gift of this time in life. So the essay is called Just Drive. Once upon a time, I thought I had it all figured out, the important stuff anyway. I had my 5-year plan and my plan for today, next week, next month. I had my schedules and alerts set in my phone so I wouldn't forget. I had ideas too, ideas about how things would go, how people would feel, what they'd want and need, and how I could be all those things for all those people. I felt sure I could do it. Then I got a little older and realized plans are almost funny. They'd be truly funny if it didn't break your heart when they went up in flames and you tried in vain to gather them out of the air and rebuild your house of smoke and mirrors. When you watch your careful dreams winding their way up and out your chimney and into the ethers, you don't laugh about it. Or at least I didn't. Maybe the seagulls laugh, though. Maybe they caw to one another as they fly overhead. There goes another one who thought she had it figured out. Caw, caw, caw. By now, at least, I'm no longer shocked when things I think I know about myself turn out not to be true. That's not quite it. They were true for a time. They were true when I felt them or said them. It's that they weren't lasting. In yogic philosophy, there's the word viveka, which means discernment. It's the quest to figure out what is real in this world and what is unreal, what is fleeting and what is eternal. I must have known I needed to pay attention to it because I had it tattooed on my arm. No feeling is final. I heard that in an Al-Anon meeting when I was about 17. Those are good words to remember when you feel the seams of your life starting to split and you get scared. They're good words for people who are really hurting, who might believe how they feel in this moment is how they'll always feel, which is intolerable. No feeling is final, you might say. It won't always be this way. And if you say it just the right way, maybe it'll help. Maybe it will give them just enough reason to hang on. But those are good words to remember on the flip side too, when you're joyful or hopeful or sure this time you've gotten it right. This time is the time you were waiting for. This time is the reason the other times didn't work out. This time is meant for you, until it isn't. I don't know if it's a midlife crisis or a midlife awakening, but so many people I know reach this milestone, this midway, holy Moses, I may have more years behind me than in front of me reckoning, and they come to a full stop. They look at the road ahead and wonder, is it too late to change direction? What if I want to change everything? Who decides when it's too late? How many lives do you think you get? If it isn't the right road, you have to own that. Otherwise, you're wasting your one wild and precious life. I'm going to assume you know that's Mary Oliver, but I said it just in case. I got into a conversation about religion with my brother last week. We are not of the same mind on this stuff. For the purposes of right now, it doesn't matter where we differ. All that matters is that I said, what if you're wrong though? What if it turns out you live your whole life this way, exhale for the final time and discover everything you thought was wrong? And he said, how do we know anything is real? How do I know I'm standing here and that my brain isn't in a jar somewhere and I just think I'm here? You're getting on a plane, but you don't know for sure that it's going to make it to your destination because you can't know. But you're getting on the plane anyway, right? Last weekend, I went to Austin, Texas, just because I wanted to. Maybe that sounds like nothing to you, like it was as simple as booking the flights and reserving a hotel. But I haven't done anything just because I wanted to for 18 years. Once I had kids, their needs came before mine, and frankly, if I wasn't ready for that, I wouldn't have had kids. I wanted kids more than anything else in this world, and they did not come to me easily. I tried to get pregnant for over a year. I went to acupuncture, boiled the stinky tea, smelled up the house, peed on the sticks, took my temperature, tracked everything, ate fertility-rich foods, lost my mind. It was all very sexy. For someone who spent 12 years dancing on point, telling my body what to do and demanding that it comply, and then another several years on my yoga mat trying to unlearn a lot of that, having my body not do the one thing society tells you is the most natural thing in the world felt like the biggest failure of all. And then I felt like a failure as a yoga teacher because I couldn't practice non-attachment around the whole experience, so I beat myself up about that too. When that trying and failing formula didn't work month after month, when I'd get my period and sob silently in the bathroom and then pick myself up and say, okay, next month will be the month, and then it wasn't, I started to get a little more intense about things. It didn't help when my acupuncturist shrugged and told me all her other clients were pregnant, so it must be me. And it didn't help when I stopped boiling the tea and tried to relax about the whole process. So then I went to a well-known, in some certain very Los Angeles circles, since deceased Maori giant named Papa Joe, and let him massage my uterus from the outside. He did that by digging his elbow into my low belly, then raking it across my skin so deeply and painfully I thought for sure I'd have internal bleeding. He did this from every direction multiple times while his very kind female assistants held me down and told me not to fight it. Someone strummed a guitar in the corner. Tears spilled continually from the corners of my eyes. It was perhaps the most LA thing I've ever done. Also the most painful, second only to childbirth itself. Papa Joe said my uterus was unfriendly and too muscled from all the yoga. Nothing can grow there, he'd said, and I felt mortified. I'd created an unfriendly uterus? I thought my then husband would drop me at the asylum the next day and wipe his hands of the whole mess when I told him what I'd done or when he saw the bruises that were sure to form. Finally, I went to a Western fertility doctor, Dr. Mars, and he told me very athletic women are often dealing with low estrogen, and he put me on a round of Clomid and I was pregnant 2 weeks later. I like to do things the hard way first, I guess. I had an easy pregnancy, a very thorough birth plan I made everyone sign, and a childbirth we almost didn't survive. It did not go according to my plan, but we did make it, and that's the part that matters. And 2 years later, I did it again and had my daughter without help from Dr. Mars that time. My ex wasn't up for another round of crazy, and I can't say I blame him. He was very much, if it happens, it happens. I didn't think it would happen without help, so I bought a Chinese fertility charm and hung it from a hook in the bedroom. I'm sure that's what did it. And I knew my kids were very wanted, is the point. And I knew that when I had kids, it would change everything, and it did, in the best ways. Of all the things I've done in my life, they are the most amazing by far. Give me the option of hanging out with them or doing anything else, and I'm choosing them every time. They're teenagers now, though, and they have plans and things they need to do. My oldest is going to college in September. My youngest won't be too far behind him. I now understand how quickly 3 years pass. I'm starting to realize before long I'll have 2 kids in college and then 2 kids out in the big, wide world. It hurts a little to type that, even though it's the way of things. I'm excited for them. They're amazing people, and I can't wait to see what they do out there. But I'm nostalgic for the days when we were all tangled up in each other. One kid on my hip, the other's chubby little hand in mine. A bag full of snacks, wipes, toys, books, drinks, a change of clothes, and a million other things just in case, thrown over my shoulder. And a puppy because God knows the rest wasn't enough. I did the single mom thing for the most intense years of their childhoods. My son was 4 when my ex and I split. My daughter was 18 months old and I was still nursing. It was full on and I wouldn't change a thing. We laughed so much. We hugged and snuggled and read books at night for hours. We dressed up for no reason. We went to the beach and the playground. We went to museums and movies. We went on trips. We went nowhere and had adventures in the living room. Mixed into all that fun was the very serious responsibility of thinking about my kids all the time. thinking about how they were doing or what they needed or what would be good for them. I had to be a grown-up, and sometimes that meant not doing the thing I might have wanted to do just for me. I never experienced it as a sacrifice, just a choice, just what you do when you decide to have kids. But I might have started to forget about who I was before I was a mom. I think I might have lost sight of that girl at some point. She's in there, of course. It wasn't so long ago that I was a teenager thinking I was getting away with stuff much cooler than my parents had ever been. Now I see pictures of my mom as a teenager, and my God, was she cool. These days, I still laugh my ass off with my kids. It's just my son is a lot taller than I am, and my daughter's about to surpass me. We hug and talk about anything and everything. I have perfected the nothing you're saying right now is shocking me face, and learned to process any of my anxieties or fears on my own time. Open lines of communication are more important to me than anything. There's trust and security and loyalty and everything anyone could ask for. It's just that we're in a different chapter now. It's the chapter after both my parents have died, and the chapter when my kids are looking toward the horizon. It's the chapter of perimenopause, and thank God for my girlfriends, and MRIs and scans, and is this pain in my chest a pulled muscle or a heart attack? It's the chapter of, wow, here I am in the middle of my story, and what I do right now is going to impact the second half of my life, however long it is. It makes you stop and think, let me tell you. It makes you want to be sure that whatever you're doing, it's pointing you toward a second half full of inspiration and urgency, because there isn't any time to waste. You can't take it for granted. So I went to Austin just because I wanted to, and my kids told me to have the best time, that I didn't need to worry about laundry or lunches. They would be fine, and I should go and have fun. They gave me hugs for every day I'd be gone, 7, because I had a few stops to make on the East Coast first, a few people I needed and wanted to check on. I'm also in that chapter in life where you'd better go and see the people you love and make sure they know how much. It's so easy to think you'll have more time until you start to get the memos that you'd be foolish to assume anything. I had an unbelievable time in Austin, the kind that reminds you hiking to a creek where there just happens to be a waterfall is like some kind of magic. And going to see live music, especially when it's 4 gals having the time of their lives while absolutely killing it, is everything you need in order to remember life is incredible and women are extraordinary. That wildflowers are miraculous, especially Indian blankets, and canoeing at sunset to see the bats is next level perfection. That being in a new place where you don't know anything is the best thing in the world for you, especially when there's someone there who takes you for the best food and the best drinks, but even more importantly knows that real conversations and real connection are the best things in life, except for dogs. They're better than anything. Sometimes you just have to get in the car and head toward the wild and unexpected thing without having a clue why you're doing it, other than some tiny voice inside of you that's saying, just drive. I remembered someone while I was there, the woman I was before I was a mom, the one who likes to go out and laugh, the one who isn't so freaking responsible all the time. It's not like you get an award for being the most responsible after all, and it's not like you'd want that on your gravestone. My kids don't need that from me anymore, not to a crazy degree anyway. I have a hunch that what might be the most inspiring thing for them is to get to know the more wild side of me. Sometimes the intuitive, inexplicable thing is the best thing. I'd much rather have that on my gravestone, wouldn't you? I think I'm in the chapter where I want my kids to see that it's never too late to begin again, and that the best place to start is always right where you are. So that was the essay this week, and that's our topic for today. Yeah, I haven't done that in a minute, so you can let me know if you liked that, and that's something I can certainly do if it's helpful as like a starting off point for our conversation. I'm happy to do that. I really I did have this moment, I had to go to the East Coast. I have people there that I need to check on and want to check on, people I love. And so I knew that I needed to go and do that. And those trips are always really, really short. And so there's a little bit of a, there's kind of an intense nature to them because I go in and I'm there for like a couple of nights and then I'm out. And this time I just thought, I really, like, I just want to go to Austin at the end of that, like for the weekend, just because I want to. And it was such a, just such a foreign idea. And I really had to stop and think, like, when is the last time I did something just because I wanted to, something like that. And I really couldn't remember. And it turned out, that pull was real. And it was like soul food, I went and I really allowed myself. I almost set up a workshop. I thought about it. I knew a studio to call. I knew I could have done a workshop while I was, and I made myself not do it. I was like, you know what? Just like stop working, just go and have fun. And it's exactly what I needed to do. It really was like life affirming, it kind of reminded me of that person that I was before I had two people who call me mom. And, it's good to be in conversation with that older you or that younger you, however you want to look at it, to remember that it's so easy to get stuck in a way of thinking. And I think when you get to these middle years, you can very easily kind of think, okay, now it's about safety or security or, like I've got it all mapped out and now I can just kind of like slow down or something like that. And it's like, I don't feel any of that. Like, I don't want to slow down. I have a lot to do, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to, like, there's so many things on my mind lately. My mind is just like swimming with, I feel like so much creative energy pumping through me all the time that like the last thing I want to do is slow down. Like, I want to let that out. And, I'm finding like I'm finishing this close to being done with my book. And I just have a lot of urgency in a good way. And also a lot of uncertainty, instead of feeling like, I think I've just learned too many times now that all the plans that we make, it's like, it's that joke, if you want to make God laugh, like tell him your plans or something. Now, I don't believe in a man in the sky and, a God with any kind of gender assignment. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'll just go ahead and say that. I respect everyone's views as long as they don't harm other people. I'm just telling you, for me, like, God as a man with a ledger in the sky does not resonate in any way, shape, or form. That's me. That's just me. But it's a funny saying, and it's true, right? It's like you make your plans and then everything goes sideways, and you got to be able to roll with that. And so I think that I am at this moment in time where I don't want to lock myself in or think that I know, or I feel like the older I get, the less I know. And the more willing I am to surprise myself and to not put myself in a box and decide this is how it has to be and this is who I am and I'm this kind of person and I would never do that. It's like, this is all the stuff in yoga too that we're trying to overcome. Pratyahara is commonly translated as withdrawal of the senses. And it's this idea that, like when you're on your mat, and if you don't practice yoga, it's fine. This still makes sense to you, I think. When you're on your mat, you're trying to pay attention to your breath. There are focal points. You really want to stay curious and engaged with sensation because sensation's always happening in the here and now. So withdrawal of the senses are these tools that you're using, the focal points, listening for the breath, paying attention to sensation, to really make yourself present. But the literal translation is away from food, away from food. And it's not literal, it's not food that we eat. It's like, oh, while I'm on my mat, I'm not going to eat apples. It's not that, although you're not going to eat apples. But it's the strong likes and dislikes. That's what the food is. It's the mind stuff, the mind food, that we hold on so tightly to our ideas about who we are, who other people are, how things should be, how people should feel, how things should go. It's that should, and to really try not to should on yourself or should on other people. That is a word of all the words that I watch out for. Should is a big one. Like if I catch myself about to write it or say it, it's like an alarm for me. I'm like, wait, don't say it, don't write it, just pause for a minute, because what's happening right now? It's not that it's never appropriate, but it's a good word to check before you move forward and make sure that you're not trying to manage other people's feelings, that you're trying to clean up somebody else's side of the street, that you are somehow thinking what other people should do or want or need or say. Like it's just a good little, it's like a stop sign for me. Linguistically, it's like a full stop, like wait. And I think it's a good habit to get into, because none of us, we don't know what anybody else should do or should feel or should want or should need. It's hard enough to figure out all those things for yourself, let alone trying to control other people. And that's the hardest lesson for me, I think, as a mom, is just like understanding, I brought these children here, I brought them through my body, onto this earth, and my job has been to love them and keep them safe and feed them and nurture them and figure out, let them show me, what they're interested in, and then try to supply more of that, and just guide them. And of course, like course correct here and there, teach them like, hey, first of all, you got to think about other people, right? Like there are other people, you're a part of a community, you're part of something much larger, and to be sure that you are engaged with that and aware of that, in all the multiple ways. And as they've gotten older, there are age appropriate ways to get those points across. But aside from that, like I really feel like our kids come and they know who they are and they know what they need. And your job is just to support, and course correct. But it was much easier for me the first 10 years of their lives to like jump in and save the day, to make sure they're strapped into their car seats and not running into the street and not running down a hill, and things that you wouldn't think you would ever need to like say. Watch your head. I think I said that 9 gazillion times over the last 18 years, particularly the first 10 they know how to watch their own heads now. But, it's like these things that you're doing to keep your children alive and well. And then at a certain point it shifts and you begin to understand they're going out into the world, and you're not going to be with them every minute. And you have to like hope and trust that everything you've instilled, everything you've tried to share, everything you've modeled is in them. And now, they're going to make decisions, and if they're like you and me, they're going to make mistakes, and that's how we all learn and grow and do it differently the next time. So, that thing of like jumping in, and it's like that you have to start sitting back a little bit and letting them figure things out and trusting they have their own journeys that they're on. And also recognizing like I'm in a different chapter now. It's not that full on thing where, if I'm not feeding them, they're not going to eat. Like they're 17 and 14, almost 15 and heading toward 18. Like they know when they're hungry, and they know how to figure that out, and they know how to do the laundry, and they know how to stay on top of their schoolwork. Like they're good. They don't need me to be like up in their business all the time. And so it's a different chapter, and it gives me pause to think about, what is this next half of my life? Like, what do I want it to be? And are things feeling right at this moment? Like, am I setting myself up for the next adventures in a way that's resonating, and if not, where do I need to make shifts? and not to freak out about it, not to be like, wait, what? I thought I had this all figured, just to like, it's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out. It doesn't all have to make sense. You can have all kinds of confusing feelings, like just all the stuff I've, tell other people. I'm remembering to also like do that for myself, to just feel it's cool. The most important thing is that it's feeling right, and that it was so important for me to say yes to something that was kind of wild and unexpected and inexplicable. Like I really needed that. And there is a part of it is that whole thing of doing the single mom thing, which I did for many, many, many years, and certainly the most intense years of my children's lives. But it's also my nature. Like I've also had this thing. I remember one of my mom's best friend when I was a baby was a woman named Cheryl, who I grew up calling Aunt Cheryl. And she told me at my first birthday, my mom made a cake, and there were, I guess, a lot of people there, my parents' friends. And so they brought the cake out and put it on the high chair. And I just sat there looking at it, with my hands in the air. And my Aunt Cheryl couldn't take it. She couldn't understand why I wasn't like sticking my hands in the cake or whatever. So she came up behind me and stuck my hands and face in the cake, and I started crying. And my mom said, now I find this really hard to believe, but my mom said that I was potty trained by the time I was 1 because I hated to be wet. It's possible. Because I do think it's part of my nature, that and I don't know how much of it is nurture nature. And then, you grow up in a chaotic environment, and I've talked about this and written about it a lot, so I'm not going to spend really much time on this at all. But, my mom's household ended up being alcoholic. My mom was an alcoholic, and the household really was overtaken by that. And my dad's was just full of secret keeping. And when you grow up with a lot of that, it's really common to want to control things because you're trying to keep yourself safe. When you grow up with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of chaos and a lot of violence, whether it's like emotional or physical or whatever it is, it's really common to read the room and to try to figure out, how am I keeping myself safe? How am I keeping the people around me peaceful? Like, what can I do to be helpful? You're not thinking about what do I want or what lights me up or what feels good right now. You're not thinking about any of that. You're just thinking about how can I take care of everyone around me? And, do I need to make myself invisible or helpful, or am I freezing, fawning, running? Like, what am I doing? And so I have that in me too. And that good girl thing, like earning love, and like wanting to be a good student and get the A pluses, and that idea of like, well, I'm going to do this single mom thing, and I'm going to do it like as well as it can possibly be done. And I'm going to, get that A plus. Well, who's giving me an A plus? What award am I like? It's, it doesn't work like that. As long as the kids feel like I'm doing a good job, that's all I care about, So, and because they don't need me in those same ways, and this is a new thing, right? It's a new moment. They still need me, but they don't need me in that full on, all encompassing. They don't need that anymore. And so what is my life going to look like now? How is it going to go? And what do I want it to look like? And I get to figure that out. Like, that's a good thing. That's a lot of freedom there. And so that's, that's really what I wanted to put out there today. And I suspect there are I heard from a lot of women my age, having all these same feelings, but I doubt that it's, I have a feeling most people reach this point in life, the middle years, as I've been calling them, and, and really think carefully about where they're at and if things are feeling good. Because if they aren't, it's time to really think about, well, what can I do? I understand, believe me, like, it depends on what's happening and if you're able to keep a roof over your head and what kind of pressures you're under. And I have pressures, I understand it's a lot, like having 2 kids about to go to college, and, it's a lot. Nobody gets into like teaching yoga or writing because they're trying to, be rich. It's not what's motivating you. And so I understand that like very, very well, that sometimes, you're limited in the kind of shifts you can make because we've created a lifestyle here in the United States where it's really hard, just health insurance and paid time off. Like, I mean, there's just a lot, childcare is so expensive. It's like, it's not so easy to just decide, well, I want to travel. Yeah. Well, don't we all? I mean, everybody wants to do lots of things, but I still think it's a very valuable subject to consider. Like, how am I right now? And how is life feeling to me right now? And if it isn't feeling good, or if I feel like I'm in a rut, if I feel kind of like stuck, or I can't even get a hold of like what I really want or what's really lighting me up, I should try to do something, even if it's just, I'm going to go listen to live music tonight, or I'm going to go to a dive bar. I'm going to call a girlfriend and just go to a dive bar and have a beer. I mean, just something, outside your normal whatever that is feasible, that is, accessible, just something like to shake up your routine. Put your mat in a different place at the very least. Just try that, get a little wild, right? I think those things are really important. And I can't wait to hear, how you feel about this and what you think about the idea of this time in life. And if you haven't reached this time in life yet, I still think it's a valuable exercise at any time, because we never know how much time we have. It's the easiest thing in the world to take it for granted that you're going to wake up tomorrow. And I don't mean to scare you. I'm not trying to say it in this like doom and gloom kind of way. I'm trying to say it in a way that's like, don't waste time. I don't care if you're 30, like, don't waste time. Really think carefully about how am I? How am I feeling? Am I feeling inspired? Am I feeling lit up? And if not, what can I do? Is there anything I can do? Start reading or listening to music, or, like, just even if it's stuff like you are held back by responsibilities, like keeping a roof over your head, those are real things. But see if you can find some way to pull yourself out of a routine, because I think routines are probably not great for us. A little bit of routine for sure, but not like full on all the time. So I look forward to hearing from you. I'm really easy to find, and the podcast is all over the place now. So, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts, you can find us, which is exciting. And I'll talk to you soon. Be well.